Hello and welcome to the All Round Coaching podcast, episode number 66. We did have a little hiatus because adulting is hard and we just got extremely busy at one point.
Yeah, life feels very, very busy. Obviously we're recording this in December, which for most people is probably in the same boat where they're running around like headless chickens, trying to buy turkeys, trying to buy food, trying to buy presents, wrap presents, figure out who the fuck they've not got for, who they've not got for, and we are definitely in that boat.
I think we've pretty much done everything, but a lot of people get stressed and it's meant to be a nice time of year, so I think for us, we poured into obviously, especially with what we do, too many other people's cup instead of ourselves, and I think that's what's flawed us a little bit. That's not what the podcast's about, by the way. It's not about us moaning about Christmas.
Straight off the bat, straight into a whinge.
It's about, it's I know how you feel. Not to be, oh, she's that relatable coach, but I think a lot of people, for me, they think that I find it easy, like, oh, you train all the time. Like, I've trained for 21 years, and I think people just think it's easy for me, and getting results is easy because, it's my job, and B, because I do work either online or in the gym, that it's just a given that I'm going to be in shape and shredded all year round, and obviously that, A, isn't the case, and B, it isn't a sustainable way of living for me anyway.
Yeah, I think it came out of a conversation that we had where naturally, and I've seen it, like you look online and you look at the coaches that you are potentially looking to select, and they've all absolutely fucking shredded to the gods, which is obviously amazing, like, and it's a goal and an aspiration for, I would imagine, quite a lot of people. But it's obviously the coaches that you're looking at there, obviously can spend a lot more time in the gym than an average person can. They're hypersensitive to quite a lot of things, whereas I'm not saying that you're not lean and shredded, but you are in a position where you're kind of going through a bit of a transformation process at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, and I've done it before. Like, I have been quite lean and I have been what I call more of a maintenance at the minute. Like, for someone that's 5'2" and I'm not genetically blessed whatsoever, like, I have to graft for every inch of progress. So for me to stay really lean, you're probably looking at extremely high output, extremely low calories, and probably not the best version of myself to serve like clients or even you as my partner. So for me to say shredded isn't nice for anyone. But I will, and I do want to do another shoot in July, which I know for me, again, I have to start a prep in January. So you're looking about 26 to 28 weeks.
I think that's just because you need that goal in mind, though, don't you? I think for a lot of people, like me and you are very similar in that sense, where we're goal orientated.
I do, yeah. I like a goal, but I like someone to focus on because I haven't got the average person and an average physique mentality. Not to sound like big-headed, but obviously your average person now isn't in shape and they don't want to be. Like, I'm not there to appease others, so the physique that I actually like, that I have, when obviously I do work harder for it, I prefer that look on myself.
Yeah, and I think that it's hard because especially when I first started with you, I had people going, "Oh, you look fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to get a coach." Whereas for me, like, living with my own body, living with myself on the day-to-day basis, like, I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And I think that's where, like, what we're trying to do here is essentially kind of, it isn't easy, and we know it's not as straightforward as just kind of get to the gym however many times a week, eat these calories, like, move so much. Like, it is hard, isn't it? And I think it probably feels like you're spinning many plates when you're trying to start that journey, and I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, and I've always said, like, my mantra is, like, we're not there for other people's goals. Like, you'll have people say you don't need to go to the gym. Like, the gym isn't just for fat people. Can I add that? Like, you actually can go, and even if you're really skinny, like, massively overweight, or you're shredded, like, you go in the gym to better yourself, better your health, and obviously look after yourself. The byproduct of it, and obviously with eating well as well, is that you do get a great physique from it, but it isn't to appease others. And it's the same as having a coach. Like, we're not just there for people that are overweight. Like, some clients come to me because they want to look like they train, they want that more muscular, more defined physique, and obviously I can get them to that because I know what I'm doing, so they're not just spinning the wheels. And I think obviously Sarah, she's still on 42 Elite actually, she was questioned, like, why are you doing 42 Elite, why are you getting a coach, because she was quite slender. She did train, but obviously she didn't look like she trained and she neglected upper. If you look at her now, like, you wouldn't question if she trained because she's got that toned physique, she's strong as well, she achieved her pull-up goals, and it's things like that. So it's not just the aesthetic, it's the performance side of it as well.
I guess when it comes to I suppose, getting to your goals, like you as a coach, as an individual, like what do you find the hardest?
Dropping body fat's hard for me. Like, I am 5'2" and I'm not. Genetics do play a role, but not the only role. So you can moan about obviously being big boned isn't
Not a thing.
no, it's not even accurate. I used to say that, and nobody's big boned. We just fucking eat a lot, and that's where I used to fall short. Like, I'd overeat, but I'd train 6 to 7 days. I'd go twice a day. I'd do cardio, and I'd be like, why the fuck am I not getting anywhere? It's because I was overeating. I'm 5'2". So my maintenance is normally around 16 to 1800. I was smashing close to 3000 and then wondering why I'm getting fat.
Yeah, I think your Achilles heel is like a sweet treat, isn't it?
It is, and obviously it's took, how long now actually? Probably since 2019 onwards to work on my relationship with food, not overeat for the sake of it. When I go on holidays, I'm not just seeing the buffet as a challenge. Like, I'm stopping when I'm full and I'm eating foods that I want to enjoy, not because it's there, which I used to do, because I've done all inclusives and come back 10 kilo heavier. And obviously on the last one, I actually lost weight because A, I was active, and B, I wasn't overeating. Granted, we didn't like the food in the all inclusive, but we ate out, which were actually bigger portions. I just half the time didn't fucking finish it anyway, but we were active, so we kept things in place to not gain weight. And it's the same with Christmas. Like, I've put a message out to my team today, like, if you let your habits fall now, you're probably going to gain the weight that you will struggle to get off. And year on year, people gain more because they lose the habits that actually help them keep in shape.
Yeah, I think just going back to that point that you made in terms of like just eating for the sake of it being there, like I'd gone to see some pals on Saturday, and I mean, my pal did an amazing kind of like spread and dinner for us, which was lovely. But then because there was a lot there, like I felt obliged to eat it because there was a lot there. Like, it's not let it go to waste. And that's probably the only time where I've come away in an absolute long time where I've come away feeling, oh god, I feel really full, like an uncomfortable amount of full. Whereas I think one of the things that I've learned with you is to not overeat. Like, get to a point where you're feeling like, right, I'm satisfied now. I don't need to finish the plate. Don't need to go back for seconds. Sometimes my biggest weakness was always having that savoury and then having that sweet straight after.
Yeah.
Whereas now I've got habits built in me that I then go for a walk straight afterwards, which is something that we've just had lunch, by the way, so we'll be going for a walk. And that normally kind of helps me kind of take my mind away from, okay, I need to have that sugar hit that I always look for.
It's habit that, and it's probably a routine. Like, I think, especially as we were growing up, you've had your dinner, now you can have a dessert, or if you eat all your dinner, regardless if you were full or not, then you can have a dessert. And it was probably growing up that it's a routine, it's habitual, you'll fall into it. So I'll always say, like, there's not really good and bad habits, but there'll be habits that serve you and habits that don't. And it's, go on, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you a question in terms of, like, how did, before you, like, properly got a better relationship with food, like, how did you manage Christmas? Like, was you one of those where your plate was laden high, like, you would just kind of scoff the chocolates and...
Yeah, it'd be quote unquote more relaxed, and I'd do it for the sake of it, and then it's the old mantra, oh fuck it, it's Christmas, and then people have fallen into that earlier and earlier each year, and I'm sure they do it from fucking October now, like, oh fuck it, it's Christmas, it's nearly Christmas, and then they'll waste, and I did it, you waste in like 2 to 3 months with the fuck it mentality. You're overeating, like, chocolates there all the time, and people will say, oh, it's in work, so I can't avoid it. Like, you don't, if you try and avoid it, you're going to want it more because you're already losing that sense of freedom. So if you give yourself the permission to have 1 or 2 where your enjoyment's going to be, and then stop, rather than doing it for the sake of it. So yes, I have done it, and obviously it didn't serve me. I didn't feel good from it. So it's building that relationship with food, and then knowing when to stop, knowing what's going to either hinder me or make me progress.
I guess when it comes to your training, I know that within the group, especially this last month or so, I think a lot of people have struggled, including myself, to actually want to train. Like, have you kind of had that same mentality more recently?
It is harder to go, and it's because we haven't got a lot of daylight. So you're looking at 8 a.m. till about 3 p.m. with no, well, that's your light window, which most people are in work. So come 5, 6 o'clock when most people clock off, can you be bothered training? Probably not. Is it going to give you more energy if you do train? Yes. I would advise, if people do really, really struggle, go before work, wake yourself up, and then have a little walk before you start work, which most people start about 9 a.m. So you've got a 30-minute window of actual daylight, so you feel a little bit more alert, and then it isn't going to feel as difficult to go.
And what are your kind of like goals coming up?
well, I want to do a photo shoot in July. I know I've got a lot of muscle, and that's probably my saving grace. So losing body fat is my biggest challenge, and obviously I know I have to graft with it, and I know that food is probably going to have to be reduced significantly for me to actually see that. But I probably want to show people what can be done with actually showing up and being consistent, because I hear it all the time, I'm not making progress, or people wonder why they're not getting anywhere, and they've got the mentality of Monday to Thursday being quote unquote good, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is a bit more of a fuck it, I'll have this because I've done this all week. Spin the wheels, not getting any progress, and people aren't consistent with the food, they're not accurate, they overeat, and then they wonder why they're not getting anywhere. You haven't got a slow metabolism, you haven't got any issues unless you've actually been diagnosed. It's just that people aren't moving as much, the food quality's shit, and they aren't accurate.
How, I mean, one of the things that we're kind of, I won't say guilty of, but we've had to kind of rein it in quite a bit is like the eating out aspect. Like that's our kind of date night, isn't it? Essentially, we both love food. Let's be honest. We both love getting out and actually going and having a meal out. So I think personally for us, we've had to really kind of knock down the amount of times.
Yeah,
So,
getting more accurate. If you do eat out, it is not accurate. You can make better choices, but if you have got fat loss goals and you are eating out quite frequently, it is either going to slow it down, or B, probably take you more to maintenance. Because you don't know what they're cooking with, so it's not necessarily the food itself. It can be the oils, it can be the butters, the sauces. Because I think most people like, I'll have a steak, but then they're whacking peppercorn sauce on it, which you're looking at 200 to 300 calories there. So eating out can hinder it, but yes, you can make better choices. If, like me, obviously you are a little person, you don't get away with it. So if I was doing it once a week, I'm probably taking myself out of a deficit anyway. So it's probably 1 to 2 times per month at a minimum that I'd be able to afford it. Come a prep, when I do a photo shoot, it's probably 0.
diggity damn, I'm not going out next year, am I?
But not associating nothing with food. Like, alcohol's not a problem, and I know it is for most of us. It's not a problem for us, but that's where other people probably fall short. Like, all the social occasions and the fun is food and alcohol.
Yeah, and I think we've not struggled per se, but it's an easier kind of date night for us if we go and have a nice meal somewhere. So I think for us, we're probably going to focus a little bit more on actually going doing probably more adult fun stuff, not in that sense, but like going doing, like we did chaos carts earlier this year, which was mega, and probably going doing a little bit more kind of just fun stuff, or just getting out
more
walking.
activities. Like, it doesn't have to cost, because you can go for nice walks that don't cost anything, or B, you can actually do activities. Like, we do like the cinema, but again, obviously some people probably just get a shitload of snacks. So look for things that aren't just food related, and if you do struggle with fat loss, it's time to probably look at things a little bit more accurately, like what I'm doing. So yes, I weigh my food, but I'm probably not fully accountable yet, because I know that probably in my mind I'm not starting until January. So I'm laying the foundations now where I'm not overeating, but come January I will have to be more accurate, and it's probably not necessarily robotic, but not missing a beat with that, because I know I can't get away with it. And similar to other people, if you are littler and you've got more to lose, then you do have to nail down, and consistently as well.
How, I imagine there'll be a lot of people over the next week or two where they'll be at parties or gatherings or with family where someone passes something round, or there'll be a plate full of something, or do you want something, and then you're trying to have that restraint. Like, what would you say to someone that, when the mum's going, go on then, just have another one, like, oh, it's Christmas, it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I mean, are you doing it to please others? Yeah, so you're pleasing them instead of yourself, you're putting into them, you're neglecting your own needs and feelings. So it does catch up, and I think that's where the association comes from, where people dread Christmas, either for the food or the fact that they have to please others in every way. So you're not even pouring into your own cup anyway, it's just to, it'll make them happy, and then before you know it, you're neglecting your own needs and what you actually want. Like, no's enough an answer. Like, no, I don't fucking want it. It's the same when you don't want a drink. Like, no, or why? Well, go and have a line of Coke then, if drinking's fine. Like, it fucking annoys me. If I don't want to drink, that's it. If I don't want to eat, that's it. Like, no's enough of an answer. Yeah.
There you go, fair enough. I don't think I think it's an interesting one, really, because I think I'm excited for you and your goals for next year. I think you've been a lot more focused as of late, even if it's the hardest time of year. And I think we had a conversation in the group this week where I think obviously there's different ways that people do things in terms of nutrition and training, Obviously, it's each to their own. It's got to kind of serve you as a person and what fits into your lifestyle. Our lifestyles are completely different to other people's. So, but I think we talked about how we make our meals a lot simpler, and I think we've managed to kind of hit that quite well this week. I think we've kept things quite simple with food, and it means that for me anyway, when we roll into next week, Christmas week, where the mince pies will probably come out, and
I don't like them, so I'm safe on that front. It's like, there's quite a lot of things I don't actually like that's associated with Christmas. All your nutty mince pie shit, not for me.
But I think if we've had a really good run up to Christmas Day, which I think we have.
Well, we've kept our non-negotiable. We've kept our routine and structure with training, because A, we actually want to train and enjoy it, and B, we haven't gone into it's Christmas fuck it mode 2 weeks before it's actually started.
I'm a firm believer though that like if you feel good, nothing tastes as good as how you feel, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, like you can't buy confidence, you can't buy hard work, so your body is a reflection of your habits over your lifetime. So if you are overweight, if you are out of shape, if you're not fit, it's a reflection of what you've done. It's not that you like life's give you a shit hand and you have to deal with it. It's a reflection of what you've done over the years. Like, as harsh as it sounds, if you are overweight, it's your habits over them years. It's not anything else. Like, you've done that. And I think environment plays a big role. Obviously, I've always said I didn't come from the most healthy environment. If I wanted to, I could have joined my dad's side and probably been a little bit more obese, but I didn't. So the fact that you've got now is years of habits. So don't expect to lose it overnight, and don't expect each Christmas to get away with it and then not lose that weight that you've put on over Christmas as well, which a lot of people fall into. And that's what I put in the group, like, keep your habits in place. Is it hard? Yes. Is it harder when other people are falling off and not doing anything? Yes, but you are in control. Like, your daily disciplines are going to lead you to success, and that's what's going to see you succeed further in the future.
And one final question. Obviously, you say to a lot of your clients, like, I came to you because I wanted to look sexier, I wanted to feel sexier. But you do say to a lot of your clients, like, it goes beyond the aesthetics. It goes beyond just wanting to look good. So my question to you would be, like, what's your why?
I've done my why on a podcast. My why's heavy. Like, my physique's my armour, isn't it?
In what sense? Just to elaborate on that.
I just look hard as fuck, don't I, if I'm muscly? But that was always obviously a deterrent to men. Like, if it can be off-putting to men. If I was putting a man off with how I looked, that was a weak and dweeby man.
Mm-hmm.
But then in a sense, not to be a weak female that they could like push around. So that was mine. And then obviously growing up with like an alcoholic and around that kind of stuff, like, I didn't want to fall into that trap of just being, I don't know, not necessarily a victim, but just being a stronger version, and I was in control.
So your why is about your strength rather than...
Yeah, it's not like, yes, the aesthetics and the sexiness is great, but obviously I'm knocking on now, and I've still kept the training on, and like my why will always be there. I know why I'm doing it.
Do you think your why's changed?
No, I want to look hard as fuck around you.
All right, okay.
No, it has changed, and that's probably why I wouldn't say I was less driven to have the leaner physique, but other things prioritised over a physique, like building the business up and having a relationship, and obviously everything has settled down more, and it's been a year and a half on, so I'm ready to focus a little bit on myself and get myself in a more comfortable, confident state, because yes, I still get the comments where, oh, you should be in shape, like, you know, you're a coach. Like, I'm not out of shape, it's just that people have been used to seeing the photo shoot me, which I'll be going on my fourth or fifth one this time round, and it takes a lot. Like, I'd fucking say to anyone that's not done a photo shoot, like, join me on a 28-week prep, and I can tell you that you won't fucking sustain it if I said to you, oh, you're not in shape anymore.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it the other day, though, with like what you looked like when you were probably what you're kind of aiming for in your head, and the circumstances that you were going through at the time was obviously it was in the middle of lockdown. You weren't in a particularly great headspace. Obviously, you was probably under a lot of stress mentally, and in general in life. Like, there's the kind of like the give and the take, isn't there? Yeah,
and I think, I mean, I did lockdown. Obviously, I got a great physique from that, because it could have gone one or two ways, and I came out of it and people were like, whoa, what the fuck? Because I was really, probably quite small as well, to be fair, but I was really lean from that, and then I did another one which I looked even better. And each time I've done it, I have looked better because my relationship with food's better, my exercise is better, everything fell into place, and obviously I'm a lot happier now. So I'm not just doing it coming from a traumatic place, I'm doing it because I want to do it and prove everyone that if you do work hard, you can achieve it. And I struggle with fat loss anyway, so I will prove it to myself and everyone that it can be done at the age of what will be 35 when I fucking do it.
I think it's hard, isn't it? Because obviously you are effectively, we've said it, like, you're effectively a walking billboard, but I think the benefits of choosing you as a coach is that you have your ups, you have your downs. Like, you aren't a robot. Like, it doesn't come easy to you to be shredded and be lean. So I think that's why you're a perfect choice for most people, because it doesn't come easy to most people to be lean or to be like, in a particular
even
way.
Men or women. Like, I'm strong, so I probably appeal to the men and helping them train, and I know how to train. And then for the women, especially the little women that are probably under 5'5", like, I can show you that it can be done and it doesn't have to be suffering. Because people fall under that notion and they overcomplicate food. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like, I used to get asked, "Oh, what are you eating? How much are you eating?" Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what are you going to sustain?
Yeah, because we don't often have conversations about macros, or, I mean, what a boring life that would be. But like, we don't have to talk about pre-workout. You don't.
No,
for me, you're not that kind of coach that is heavily in that, like, live, breathe, eat it. Like, you are living life. You're not. Obviously, you're very, very passionate about what you do, but you aren't to like a bodybuilder kind of level, are you? You'll speak to people. Certainly spoke to me when I was coached with you, where it was on more of a layman's terms. Like, I don't care what my metabolic rate is. I don't know what the fuck that is. What have I said? Is it right? I don't know, but I know I've heard it bandied around. Like, it doesn't matter to the average person, and I think that's why, like, you're going through the same things. Like, and why should you make it more complex and complicated than what it needs to be?
No, for like general population, which is a lot of my clients, like, I don't prep anyone to do with bodybuilding because it's not my forte, and I think it'd bore me as well. But you don't need to overcomplicate things, and I think that's why when people come to me, it's like, oh, not necessarily is that it. Like, the detail I go into is a lot, but I won't overcomplicate it just to swing a giant dick and say this is what I know, because if you don't understand it, you're not going to reply it.
Yeah, I think for you it's obviously just more on having having someone to hold your hand, and that's effectively what you do, isn't it?
I'm guiding you, and I'm teaching you how not only to get your results but how to sustain them. Because, I mean, granted, some clients are still with me from day one, but I know they're not with me forever. But I think for me, like, a coach is a non-negotiable because they look after you. You're not having to think about it, and they're teaching you along the way, because each phase of your life is always going to be different, and that's where a coach will serve you. So no, we're not just for summer, we're not an expiration. Like, we do go further than just the summer bodies. But for me, like, I think I will probably always have a coach to hold me accountable, and probably same for my guys that have still got me like 4 or 5 years on.
Yeah. There you go. Wrapped up.
We will wrap that up. Hopefully you've all enjoyed this one. The next episode will probably be the 2024 roundup for us. We'll go over our highlights, lowlights, and everything in between from what we've done in 2024.
Yeah, see you next time.